My grandfather was a case in that study. He worked as a firefighter where the Tuskegee Airmen trained. He and I were phenomenally close. The syphilis study happened for 40 years. Penicillin was found to be the most effective treatment, but the men were denied the treatment. Interestingly enough, I've had someone tell me that they were concerned about getting the vaccine because of the syphilis study. And I always, try to educate or provide some information about what happened. But then I said, you're talking about something that happened to my family. And I've taken both of my vaccines. I'm doing this for them. Health is greater than wealth, and it's really up to us to take ownership of our health and this story.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
My grandfather was a case in that study. He worked as a firefighter where the Tuskegee Airmen trained. He and I were phenomenally close. The syphilis study happened for 40 years. Penicillin was found to be the most effective treatment, but the men were denied the treatment. Interestingly enough, I've had someone tell me that they were concerned about getting the vaccine because of the syphilis study. And I always, try to educate or provide some information about what happened. But then I said, you're talking about something that happened to my family. And I've taken both of my vaccines. I'm doing this for them. Health is greater than wealth, and it's really up to us to take ownership of our health and this story.
Nope.
Let me make sure Kelvin can hear me. Kelvin, how we doing?
All right, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
You can hear me now. All right. Well, look, I was up there giving you props and praise for looking fresh to death in your orange and green. How you doing over there, my man?
I am doing wonderful, man. Ready to get this show started, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a big show for you again. Bryan Fulford and Kelvin Rozier coming up a little bit later. Joining us not only will be the third member of this beautiful triumvirate that we have, that'll be Kofi Hemingway. He'll be joining us a little bit. And we've also got some big special guests coming up. A lot of big news. It's a loaded show, man. I don't know, Kelvin, with my sinuses the way they are, I don't know if my head can handle this today.
Man, we got each other back, man. We family, so I got you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have to do like Coach Simmons. We have to go 2 quarterback system today, buddy. We may have to go 2 QB system today.
We gonna be all right.
Man. Yeah, look, hey, want to remind you or thank you if you're watching us right now out on YouTube. Make sure to give a like and make sure you're subscribing to us on the YouTube, the Jericho Broadcast Network's page. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you're signed up with the O&G Strike Zone on Facebook. Follow us, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at O&G Strike Zone. All right, Kelvin. So, look, big show today. As mentioned, we're going to get into a little bit of talk about this Alabama State victory. First home win in the SWAC, so we got to celebrate that. A dominating performance by the defense. Beautiful. I mean, it was lovely to watch. We've also got some special guests coming up. The head Rattler himself, Coach Willie Simmons, will be joining us coming up at the bottom of the hour, about 25 after the hour for those of you. So tell a friend. And then top of the second hour, we have the head basketball coach, Robert McCullum, supposed to be joining us as well, as the men's basketball team and the women have also started their practices over the past week. So we'll get a chance to talk to him about the first week of practice and some of the things that happened over the summer and just kind of spotlight their new guys. And there he is, kind of joining us in. He's a full screen mode there. Kofi Hemingway, you back up a little bit, Kofi. You'll take a little, you got a extra close in there. All right, there you go. How you doing, Kofi?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Man, good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're able to get in here and get in on this. Hey, look, we got a lot to talk about. Big win for the Rattlers. Let's start it off, Kelvin. I feel like Nostradamus. That's how I'm feeling. A lot of the stuff we talked about that we wanted to see happened. So what are your first observations from the win on Saturday against Alabama State?
The first thing I want to say is winning is hard. And the SWAC East is no joke, right? So I don't take it for granted. And when you beat an opponent that just had scored 35 points the week before against a good Bethune-Cookman team, and you shut them out, you hold them under 200 yards of total offense. Man, I have number praise for the coaches and the players on this one. I really don't have any complaints. It still wasn't a complete game, but it's the 4th game of the season. I see progress, man, and I'm on board. I've always been on the train anyway. And by the way, I will point out that we would have had that 31 points had they not called the safety back and we had not missed field goal. So I'm on schedule, baby. I'm on schedule.
Well, as a point of clarification, it was not a safety. Coach Simmons even pointed that out. If you caught the Willie Simmons live show, the correct ruling, it was the correct ruling by the officials. So, I'm not going to poke out my chest and say, I'm not happy that we didn't score 30 points. Let me just put it like that. I am not happy about that. But, right, round 1 goes to me. So anyway, but the other bet we should have done was fewest points. I think that's what we can go now. We can start talking about fewest points allowed in the SWAC, because we have now gone 8 quarters in the SWAC and only given up 1 score. That's impressive. Kofi, what's one of your big takeaways from the weekend's win against Alabama State?
It was a solid, methodical, I'm going to say it, AZZ ass whooping delivered by the FAMU football team over the Alabama State Hornets. I would say the thing that really stuck out for me was the two back sets that our football team came out on. And it was good to see that measure of creativity, to see how the play calling, even with the running game, managed to keep us in control of the game. Throws to the tight end, I think, also stood out to me. In addition, even though we lost Fadul, man, his replacement was just nailing the ball, just flipping the field. Every time I looked up, the ASU punter was running backwards to go and get the ball. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And then I want to say the student section, the FAMU student section, was just amazing during the game, and I enjoyed the game fully. So all those things definitely stood out to me. McKay was steady. It was not spectacular, but he was steady. And excuse me, good ball distribution. Xavier got the ball. I saw an attempt to Pruitt. Excuse me. I saw an attempt to Pruitt on one of the plays, and I saw McKay with the quarterback keeper, man. I thought that was my favorite play of the game, to watch him take the ball on his own and go around the right side for about 17, 18 yards.
Yeah, that was an impressive play. That was a guts play. That was one of those, as Dabo might say.
And he ran
BYOG.
that man over too.
He did. I was listening again to Coach's comments on his show from Monday, and he was talking about that very play with Mike Thomas, talking about, yeah, he would have it was a learning experience, because at Jackson State he had a similar play where he slid early and didn't get the first down, and he notated that on this particular time, Rashawn did a good job of looking for the line marker, the chain, and actually went past it, and then in so going past it, then he decided, I got a guy I'm gonna take on, and just kind of took that guy out. So a gutsy move by the quarterback, and it fired up everybody. So, and he came out of it with no injuries. So that was a win-win-win all the way around. I am going to talk about the fact that we ran the ball 32 times, passed the ball 24 times. That's what I've been talking about. That's what I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks.
Why are you trying to take all the credit? Talking about I. We all been saying that it's we.
Yes, sir. We've been talking about that. Yes, okay. We've been talking. I'm still a little sore about the quarterback situation early in the year, so I'm just sorry. But anyway, we were talking about, we felt like we needed to see the running game be a little. We wanted to see more of a 60-40, 55-45, right? We got that. I mean, I'm not a quick math major, but 32 to 24. I mean, that's almost, I would guess that's probably 60-40 or real close to it. And then the second thing that I really liked about the running game, the thunder before the lightning, the McLeod-Jennings combination started, and that is what set the pace for the lightning quick Bishop Bonnet, I felt. What do you guys think about the running package of starting with the big backs versus going to the small backs, Kelvin?
I love it, man. We've been talking about that. We were talking about having offensive identity. And early on, when the season started, we thought it would be more Rat Boy, Gulf Coast. But as the season has progressed, our strengths are with the running game, both at the line, the offensive line, as well as those stable of running backs. And again, we had another game. That's every game this year so far against every opponent, where our running backs have averaged over 4 yards a carry, every last one of them. So that's what we want. I think we have our identity, and let's continue and win, baby. That's all. Let's win.
How about you, Kofi?
Yeah, I would say not to look for that particular strategy every week because every opponent is different. So Coach Simmons and those are probably going to be looking at different strategies based off of the opponent. So if he sees something that Bishop might be able to do that McLeod won't be able to do, then you won't be able to see. You know what I'm saying? You'll be seeing different sets for different opponents. And
But
I don't
if
think that we could very well see just some more creativity coming out of that backfield, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Sure, but if we start with that kind of presence, if we start a game with that running presence, and then hey, you come stop us, you prove that you can stop our two big back sets, and then we go to the creativity a little bit later. But there are coaches. I mean, what we've heard the great Bill Walsh, for example, used to script his first 15 plays, and you get a feel for your opponent in that first 15 plays. And I'm not saying that that's what Coach Simmons does or should do, but just doing what we do, and which is, hey, if we're going to say we're going to bring two backs out and we're going to run two backs, and these guys are big bruisers, we got a good feel for our offensive line. We understand what McKay and the receivers bring to the table. Everything else is water. I mean, you stop us there, show us you can stop, and then we'll kind of see. So I think we will see more of that. I hope we do see more of it until somebody proves that they can stop us. Look, I don't think we play another defense as good as Jackson State up front. Do you? You guys look on the schedule.
No.
Maybe we don't play Prairie View, and we don't play Auburn.
I want to say this weekend is going to be interesting for me. I think Alabama State's defense was definitely physical. That was a knockdown, drag-out fight. It was a bloody battle. Yes, we could see by the number of Alabama State Hornets that were laying down there on the field. But for South Carolina State has a history of D'ing us up really good, especially against the run. So a lot of this stuff comes down to scheme, but it's just like they used to say, everybody says, they got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. And I just think that our physicality this year and our strength is much better. It's much stronger than it has been in years past. And we're showing an ability to run the ball that we haven't shown in a long time.
Hey, enough about the offense, guys, because the real stars of Saturday was the defense. I mean, we love offense, right? We gave the offense a good 10 minutes, but we got to talk about the defense, man. I don't know if we have a nickname. Kofi, you seem to be the great historian of Rattler football and Rattler defensive nicknames. I mean, we may have to start coming up with one for this unit, because it seems like every week it's a new person that's stepping to the forefront. This week it was Isaiah Land, who was not only the Box to Row National Player of the Week, he was the BCSN Defensive Player of the Week, National Defensive Player of the Week. Look, the SWAC, I know they gave it to Grambling State, to the young man from Grambling State, but I thought Isaiah Land impacted the game unlike anything I've seen short of the guys from Jackson State against us early in the year. We'll swing it the other way. Kofi, how about the defensive presence that you saw from Isaiah Land and others?
Well, I want to say, I mean, we've been saying all year long that our defense is FBS caliber. It is definitely one of the top units, and I think that people are going to see it. Even Coach Pugh pointed out that this is a seasoned unit, that it is a unit with a lot of older players, and we've got a ton of transfers. If you look at the roster, I believe over half of the defensive roster is transfers, especially at our key positions. And but they came out with a ton of intensity. They tackled well. They closed the lanes, the passing lanes down. They put pressure on the QB. They caused him to move off of his spot. It was just a well-rounded thing. The only criticism I have is, just discipline with those penalties. Those 15-yard penalties even with that, they were able to maintain a shutout, and I think that that's commendable.
What do you got, Kelvin? I'm gonna look up those penalty stats while you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had double-digit penalties that game. That stood out to me too, over 100 yards of penalties. So we definitely want to clean that up. But that being said, the thing that stands out to me about our defense, period, and in this effort is there's not many weakness, right? We have depth, we have good size in most of the positions. There's no significant drop off all the way to the third level. We don't have to blitz to get pressure. You know, we have pass rushers. We have thumpers on the back end. And so no matter what kind of offense we face, we will be positioned to be able to scheme and game plan around what the offense does, because we just have that kind of level of talent. And as Kobe has pointed out, and Coach P, this is a season group, right? A lot of grad transfers, a lot of 2-3 year players who've been with the program, and they are only going to get better. The thing is, they haven't peaked. They're still learning to play together. They're still learning the system. They still adding more to the schemes. So, man, you know, I expect this effort, maybe not a shutout, but I don't see a lot of teams getting more than 14 points against us, no matter how prolific their offense is, if we don't turn the ball over on offense.
Right. You both mentioned the penalties. We had 13 penalties for 133 yards in comparison to Alabama State's 7 penalties for 72 yards. But then we did make up for it, though, a little bit in terms of the yardage numbers. Isaiah Land himself, I mean, he had, I think, 3 or 4 tackles for loss for like 20 yards, 3 sacks for 18 yards. I may have those numbers backwards. I should know here. I'm pulling it up right now. It was 4 tackles for loss for 20 yards, 3 sacks for 18. So that's 38 negative yards just from one guy's performance. And I thought he was just super quick. I mean, I watched him bull rush. First it was the right tackle, or I guess it was the left tackle. Then he moved to the other side and destroyed the right tackle. I mean, those guys from Alabama State didn't know what was coming at him. I mean, he looked like a young Lawrence Taylor out there, just bull rushing people out of the way. I mean, that's how crazy it was. And great interview he did on Monday, too, as part of the Willie Simmons live show. I encourage you all, if you didn't see it, go back to Facebook on the FAMU Athletics page and go watch. Great interview with him and Kamani Young, I think it is, the tight end who scored that touchdown, I believe, in the first quarter. I was really impressed by, I mean, when's the last time you saw a defense hold an opponent to 2 first downs in a half, 24 total yards of offense? Alabama State punted 6 consecutive times. I mean, it was unbelievable. Now, in the same respect, I think the offense kind of slowed down, but again, we're not going to harp on the, it's like sometimes you feel like you can have those kind of moments when the defense is that dominant. I mean, they went 3 quarterbacks in that game, right?
Let me say this, that, our offense didn't feel the need to do things because, we're used to, I want to say, Florida ball, where people are throwing the ball multiple times during the game. Coach Simmons mentioned this on Monday, that there wasn't a need to do all of that because of the way that the defense was playing. Now, going back to the defense, there was a play that really stood out to me, okay? And I think it may bode well for Saturday, just because South Carolina State, one of their key elements on all of their offenses, especially under Pugh, has been the screen. So Alabama State, I don't know if it's first or second half, but they lined up to really try to take advantage of our rush and our guys that broke through the line, and they all recognized at the same time that it was a potential screen, and they all put on brakes at the same time. That's coaching. That's coaching. That tells me that they're watching film, that they're looking at tendencies, and they immediately shut that play down and was able to get that guy either to throw the ball away or tackle for a loss. But that, to me, spoke volumes about how this team is playing, and it's not one-dimensional. It's not one-dimensional. It's not one-dimensional. I don't even know how many. I don't know. Does Marquise Bell have an interception this year? I don't think he has one. But he's affecting the game.
Yeah,
and that was the other thing. I'm seeing him line up in multiple spots all over the field. That tells me a lot about just scheme and just creativity. And like Kelvin said, this group has not peaked yet. This group has not peaked yet. And I'm excited because these next two games are going to go a long way to showing how dominant this unit is or possibly will be. So we'll know within the next two games where we at.
Well, shout out to the co-defensive coordinators, Ryan Smith, Coach Brandon Sharp. They definitely deserve some praise for that unit. Real quick shout out to our people on the YouTube watching us, Mary 305, Montre Bennett, Dwayne Sweet. Shout out to you guys. Make sure if you're watching us, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel over there. Give us a like and go ahead and tell somebody. Coming up in the next segment, I believe we have the head ball coach himself, Coach Willie Simmons, willing to come in and join us in the strike zone for the first time this year. And we get a chance to talk about this game, but more importantly, the big news announcement that just dropped 24 hours ago, I guess within the last 24 hours. Why not us? Why not FAMU? The docuseries coming to the Hill. So we get a chance to talk to him about that. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Kelvin, and Kofi. We'll be back right after these words.
We're not live, are we?
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your fam.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
They can follow their dreams.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel.
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Kelvin, somewhere there, a little frozen, stuck in time, and Kofi.
He's doing the mannequin challenge.
All right. Yeah, we may have to go with little freeze there. I'm sure we'll have Kelvin back here in a moment. We're still trying to reach out to Coach Simmons. So obviously he's a very busy man. So I'm sure, if we get an opportunity to have him on as we planned, we will. But so what we'll do, Kofi, while we're waiting on Kelvin and even possibly Coach Simmons, let's talk a little bit about what happened in the SWAC this past weekend. Obviously, the biggest story, the biggest story was Grambling State's upset over Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously,
Cause
not a. I don't think that. What'd you say?
Go ahead. Go ahead on.
Well, I was just saying, I don't think that wasn't a conference game in terms of counting on the schedule, was it? Let me look at the SWAC standings. It was?
Any loss in the SWAC counts.
All right. Well, I know. Okay, yeah, okay. Maybe I'm so twisted up because other conferences do and don't. But yeah, what's your takeaway? What's your takeaway? Grambling State with a big upset.
Well, my first takeaway is both Kelvin and I tried to explain to somebody who's wearing orange over there that going to Grambling was not going to be an easy task. I mean, we just tried to say that, hey, you're going to Grambling, you got to play well. And Akil, not to mention the Alabama A&M defense has given up 41 points to South Carolina State. They gave up over 30 points to Cookman. They gave up 35 to Tuskegee. That's not necessarily a good look. You go in and you do 6 turnovers on the road like that. Unfortunately for Alabama A&M. And, I don't think Glass has beaten Grambling, Alcorn, or what's the other team?
Really? Southern?
He hadn't beaten them in his career. He hadn't beaten Grambling or Alcorn. And I think it's another team he hadn't beaten either.
Wow, did not know that. All right, Kelvin, go ahead. You can gloat a little bit, man. I tell you, in this show, I take them, boy. I take them.
We ain't gonna let you forget now. We ain't gonna let you forget.
I know you won't. I know you won't. But when I get something right, it's all about
that we tried to tell you about too, but you ain't want to listen. But that's all right.
Yeah, when I get something right, it's always we or no. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Kelvin.
Well, I'm not gonna, gloat or anything, because that's what I do, man. I try to give people the facts, and I expected this to happen, and it happened, and Kofi already gave you the stats and of why we thought this was possible. Grambling is a prideful school. They're used to winning. They're used to big games. They're tough at home. Alabama A&M has some imperfections, right? So all the signs pointed to, and then they had homecoming coming up against Jackson State and us. That's just a lot going on. When we saw before the season started, when we saw this gauntlet that they had to maneuver through, we thought that it would be an issue. And then add to the fact that they played spring ball. This October, well, we'll see. I noticed that Alcorn State didn't play spring ball. They looking fresher. They look like they're improving. We looking fresh. We look like we're improving. And then, those teams, Alabama A&M, those teams play spring ball. Even Jackson State against Delta State, you was disappointed in that result. So I'm interested to see if that's a one-off or if that's a trend. But either way, I think as long as Alabama A&M doesn't have a championship level defense, they will have trouble with Jackson State and FAMU back to back in Huntsville.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. Hopefully nobody out there took my advice with first half with Alabama A&M, because you would have been sorely disappointed in how that one turned out. But the whole look ahead thing was a big topic of conversation, and Jackson State is this week, so we'll see. Although I've been trying to push back a little bit on that narrative about the look aheads, because of just, I think we talk so much, coaches talk so much, I should say, about staying in the moment and focused on the game in front of you, and especially going on the road. I can see it if it's a home game, but I just find it hard to think going on the road, a hostile environment, and looking ahead past the people who are right in front of you. You know, I give more credit to Grambling State than I will the whole look ahead thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's move over to another game. Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State came into the ball game 2 winless teams. I don't think anyone predicted that. I'm pretty sure nobody predicted that going into the year, but that's what it was. And South Carolina State put up, you mentioned it earlier in the show, put up 42 points in getting the 42-35 win over Bethune. I don't know, has anyone, I got to do the stats. Has anyone done any stats on the what's up MEAC versus SWAC record right now? I got to, I don't know. I'm just unofficial. I don't know what it is. But
Valley is the only team that won.
The only SWAC team to beat a MEAC team?
That's correct. Central beat
Well, no,
Alcorn.
that can't be right because Alabama A&M beat South Carolina State.
Okay, that's right.
So 2.
You're right. You're
2.
correct.
Yeah,
2.
so it's probably like 2-2 or 3-2 slanted towards the MEAC, I guess. But anyway, really, the score was not indicative of the ball game because what you had, South Carolina State had a 42-7 lead after 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden, Bethune with four touchdowns in the fourth quarter, to sort of make it look a little closer. What are your I mean, this comes on the heels of South Carolina State getting beaten up pretty bad by a New Mexico State squad. Do you get any kind of feel for either South Carolina State or Bethune after that game, Kofi?
Both schools are incredibly talented. Both schools have a lot of speed. They've got a lot of athleticism, and they will fight you to the very end. They're used to being in ball games where they win, and it's important, just really going forward that teams that face them don't necessarily look at the record and just be like, oh, it's just, so-and-so, and they, these teams are capable. I believe at one point, South Carolina State was up 42-7, and Cookman managed to close the gap like that. So that tells me 2 things: that South Carolina State is a fast starting team. They take advantage of people's mistakes, and they're normally very aggressive in all 3 phases of the game. Even if you look at, their special teams, they block kicks, they do punt returns for touchdowns, kickoff returns for touchdowns. They do all kinds of things to flip the field and to get the game to flow in their favor. So in addition to that, they've got a strong passing attack, and they always have a good running game. So really with that, I believe they put in their second team people. And when they put the second team people in and they started flipping people in, then Cookman started taking advantage of that. And they started coming back into the game and closed the gap. So, that speaks to Cookman's heart. That speaks to their scrappiness and their unwillingness to just concede a game. So whoever plays either one of those teams has got to be ready to play for all 4 quarters.
How about this? South Carolina State scored 5 of their 6 touchdowns were rushing touchdowns in the first 3 quarters. And technically, South Carolina State's defense didn't give up a touchdown, until, until late in that fourth quarter, actually in the fourth quarter. And like you said, we don't know if that's that first or second unit because Bethune-Cookman had a kickoff return, 95 yards in the 95-yard kickoff return in the first quarter. But other than that, no offensive production by Bethune until that second unit. came in. What are your thoughts, Kelvin? On South Carolina State, Bethune. I'm sure we'll get into talking about more about South Carolina State, but just that game in general.
I had a chance to watch that game, particularly the first half of it, and what stood out to me, the young man quarterback, I think Fields, and he's a gunslinger. And then you had Shaq Davis on the outside, who was there in 2019 also. The number one wide receiver, big kid, I think about 6'2" or so. And so those guys can play. But Bethune made a lot of mistakes. Bethune moved the ball in the first half, but they had a lot of penalties. They had a turnover. And then two of the touchdowns in the second quarter, because most of the touchdowns with South Carolina State came in the second quarter, the create separation, they were just busted coverages where the receiver just ran a regular fly, and the corner was playing zone, and safety was, don't know what he was doing, but and it was just pitch and kick, so, and it happened twice in that second quarter. So, I'm starting to wonder if Bethune is maybe at a breaking point, to be honest. The talent level is good. The talent level is still good. Now, they're still dangerous. But I don't know. I know the coach sees this hard. I know the kids, they feel in some kind of way right now because they ain't winning. And their schedule is not going to get any easier. So I'm thinking they could break. It's important they get a W this week.
Yeah, I'm thinking in long range. I need Bethune to win a couple games. I don't want a Bethune team coming in with backs against the wall, looking like a season with 0 wins coming into that game in November. I'm just saying I don't want that Bethune team coming into Orlando like that. You know how cats get when they get backed up into a corner.
Ain't
Just
nobody worried
saying.
about that.
They look, bro. They
ain't nobody
backs
worried
is
about
fit to
that.
be up against the wall, and because the schedule. Now, the only thing that I think may possibly work out is if the other teams that they play, their injuries start to mount up, and Cookman's able to remain healthy, and they're able to take advantage of that. But they got Prairie View, bro. They got Jackson State. They've got Alcorn. They've got Grambling, and they got us.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, I know.
What's their record
look,
now?
Who?
Right now, what's their record?
Who? Bethune?
Yes.
0-5, I believe.
They're 0-5. So Mississippi Valley, Jackson State, Alcorn, Grambling, us, and Prairie View. They got Prairie View up next. So
yeah. Ouch.
It's now. I will say this: Cookman is talented enough to do some damage against Prairie View. If Prairie View comes in that game and they're like, oh, it's just Cookman, blah, 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 they could be in for a rude awakening, especially if Cookman gets off the mat and gets a victory this week, which I think they will because it is Bethune-Cookman's homecoming. So two things have got to happen, though. I mean, if Cookman does not win this game, I am fully expecting changes to be made.
Wow.
You lost homecoming in front of
you heard it here first,
bro. Homecoming and to Mississippi Valley.
Speaking of Mississippi Valley State, another team that we will have to play in the East. How about their game, which they give up a 1-yard run with 25 seconds left to Darius Richard on a 9-play, 82-yard drive. So now you're down 16-10. The extra point is missed. And then all they do is come back with the help of a with the help of the kickoff, which is returned 25 yards, and then a face mask penalty. Almost, if you think about, remember how that South Carolina State game went a few years back, where the FAMU, South Carolina State, where South Carolina State took the lead. We had like a 3-touchdown lead. South Carolina State took the lead. They get a touchdown, but then on the they get a celebration call. They get like 2 penalties, which basically was like 30 yards. The kicker kicks it out of bounds, add another 15 yards, practically gave us the ball at midfield, right?
That's the SWAC, man. I mean, the impossible happens too often, right? For the home team, man. Those SWAC refs, man, you know, I don't want to slam them too bad because, you know, but, man, it's rough, man. Did you see our game? I mean, it's But they still had to take advantage of the opportunity. They got the extra down too. Let's not forget that. Everybody thought the time ran out, and they got an untimed down when they scored. So,
how do you call a delay of game penalty on the defense? Like, who does that except in the SWAC? That was the first time I have ever seen a delay of game called on the defense. I'm like, how? Man, whatever. Can we talk about something else? Because these SWAC referees.
Yeah, definitely. Woo. All right. So that's sort of a SWAC roundup. When we come back, we'll kind of talk about what's been happening with our Lady Rattlers, the volleyball program. We'll get into talk a little bit about the upcoming basketball season. And then a little bit later at the top of the second hour, we'll have a few minutes with head coach Robert McCullum. And then we'll also get into talking about this upcoming contest with Brad Gillens, who is very familiar with South Carolina State football. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these words. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Kelvin, and Kofi. We'll be back in just a moment.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think, some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
Follow the Black College Sports Network and all of our shows on YouTube. You can find us at MyJBN Online and on all social media at MyBCSN1.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think, some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stand.
Welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan Fulford, Kelvin Rozier, Kofi Hemingway. We appreciate you watching and tuning in with us. The show that covers all things Florida A&M University athletics related and culture. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at O&G Strike Zone right there, at O&G Strike Zone. Hey, download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Anytime our shows go live, you'll get a notification. You can go to your Google and Apple Play Store, search MyJBN or MyBCSN. Make sure you download that app. And, hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, give a shout out to our folks on YouTube. Marcus Green jumped in there. Appreciate you. Joe King also tuning in and watching on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to the MyJBN YouTube page. We appreciate you. Make sure to give a thumbs up to the show. And we got to keep growing this network and let Rattler Nation know we're out here giving out the quality content. Our Lady Rattlers, again, we talked about the volleyball program. They're in this sort of mid-season slumber with only one game over a 14-day period. Obviously, we had the double dip up in Mississippi, came out of that 1-1. Then we had almost a week, and we played Bethune-Cookman on the day before the Alabama State football game over in Daytona Beach. We dominated them. That was no surprise. Beat them 3-0. Just kind of see if there was anything in particular that came out of that. I don't really know if there's anything that specifically came out. I'm just kind of looking at the box score for the numbers. 25-19, 25-12, 25-17. Lady Rattlers had 47 kills to Bethune's 22, 7 aces compared to 1. Doubled them up on assists. Actually, Bethune had more blocks than us, but it is what it is. Pretty spread out performance for the ladies. Isis Williams, Dominique Washington, each with 11 kills. Karina Presser with 10. The Diggs, Jessa Long with 10, Washington with 6, Ukar with 5, and then Ukar with 40 assists. So, again, the Lady Rattlers improved to 2-1 in the conference, winning that was the first SWAC road win. So that's, first SWAC road win for the Lady Rattlers. Just going to do a quick little brief look at the standings here, guys, just to kind of see where we are on the volleyball year. Jackson State still rolling, have not lost in the SWAC, so that's now their streak is up to 13 games. They went 9-0 in the spring, 4-0 so far this year. Arkansas Pine Bluff also, they are 3-0 on the year. Texas Southern sitting at 2-0. And then comes FAMU, Grambling, and Alabama State at 2-1. Want to encourage everybody, if you're in Tallahassee, I think we got the first home game coming up this weekend, correct, guys?
Sunday. We got 2 games Sunday.
Yeah, double header on Sunday, 9 a.m. versus Prairie View A&M, and then 7 p.m. against Texas Southern. So if you're traveling to Tallahassee to watch the game for Saturday, before you check out or before you hit the road, pop over to Lawson Center, and hopefully you can catch that morning game, 9 a.m. That's breakfast with the Lady Rattlers. I don't know. Where's a good breakfast spot you'd recommend people going to after that contest, Kelvin?
Well, there's Broken Egg, several of them around town, as well as a local favorite, Canopy. Yeah.
Kiki's, Bada Bean, Village Inn. We got breakfast on lock in Tallahassee.
Nice.
We do.
We do, yeah. Hey, let's talk. There really hasn't been any other. I mean, obviously, men and women's basketball have started, but before I get into that, because I've had a few people hit me up and kind of say, what's the summary of the halftime show, the fifth quarter? So for that, I go to Kofi Hemingway to give us the report on what we saw, what he saw from the Alabama State. What do they call the marching band from Alabama State?
Mighty Marching Hornets.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, yeah, the group from Alabama State that came in the 100. So, Kofi, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Well, my Alabama State has a good band. They came in. They actually were a little bit more respectful of FAMU's pregame show, largely because they're one of the few bands in the SWAC that also does a pregame show. And so they were pretty tame until their team came out. That being said, they did what all SWAC bands have they do in the stands. They come and they really do a good job of supporting their team. The halftime show, they came out on the field. They did a Salute the Soul Train. A lot of people didn't necessarily know exactly what it was that they put out there on the field. There was no smoke. The train did not move, but they did play the Soul Train theme. Then you know, the Stingettes came out and they did phenomenal. They did a great routine, but that's not necessarily something that moves Bragg to a standing ovation unless you do something extremely spectacular. But the Stingettes are still my favorite group, or my number one group in the SWAC. Then they did like a brief 1 minute like dance routine, move to the left, move to the right, and then the Honeybees came out and they killed it. They did flips and somersaults and splits and all kind of other stuff. And Bragg went up. I mean, it was good. And that was actually one of the best Honeybee routines that I've seen. I thought it was great, but that, in my opinion, actually saved their show, because other than that, I was ready to go to sleep. Then the 100 came out, man, and they did a dynamic opening formation. They did a salute to T-Pain. They put a top hat on the field. They put a martini glass, tipped the martini glass, spelled T-Pain. The concert selection, in my honest opinion, was okay. I know that they reached with the Joe piece. It did sound good. So that always is a plus, especially when you sound good. And the crowd, appreciated it. But the dance routine, the 100's dance routine was one of the best dance routines I've seen them do in years. I'm talking about back 2010, 2008. The students were engaged, the crowd was engaged, and it was really no contest. And even with the social media response, they have gone viral on TikTok. They've gone viral on Twitter with the stuff that they've done. So kudos to the Marching 100. The fifth quarter was good. It was solid. Alabama State came in. I mean, they did what they do. I love their It Never Rains in Southern California. I love Liberian Girl, a couple of the songs that they played. And, the 100, they held their own, which is something that a lot of people in the SWAC have been banking their heads on, for us to just get blown all the way out and just, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that I would have changed is the whole Young and the Restless piece, which is good, and I love it and everything, but this is game number 3. We heard it in game number 1. There's no need to play it again in the 5th. We've heard it now 5 times. So it's time to bury that one, put that one in the warm-up, or put it away, and let's do something fresh for the 5th, because you still have Alabama A&M coming up. Actually, you got South Carolina State, so the 5th quarter's got to be good for them. You have a Battle of the Bands with Alabama A&M on Friday, a 5th quarter on Saturday with Alabama A&M, which will not be easy. They're not going to Valley. But then you got Grambling coming in here on homecoming, so that's going to be big, and that's going to be an extra long 5th because of the traffic. It's 40,000 people that's going to probably 50 probably that's going to be in the vicinity, along with what I believe is probably going to be the first or second, the largest or the second largest crowd ever in Bragg Stadium with homecoming. So that's going to be a very entertaining fit. And then the next week they play Southern University, so they've got to really be on it. But altogether, I give the 108.
Nice. Will Grambling, you mentioned Grambling for homecoming. Will
Grambling's
Grambling's
band is coming. All the bands are coming this year.
Okay. Where was I? Oh, if you wanted to watch the fifth quarter, I know there's a lot of sites out there that are doing it. How would you recommend somebody to go and watch the rebroadcast or a broadcast of the fifth quarter? What site would you recommend?
The paparazzi, the FAMU paparazzi, March 100 paparazzi is a good site, along with the FAMU bands. If you follow them on March 100 on YouTube, you could just type in FAMU versus Alabama State fifth quarter, and it will come up, and you'll see all of the sites or all of the groups that have taped it. I still think that the FAMU Alabama State game is going to be a huge game going forward. Especially next year when we go to Montgomery, they'll see Rattler Nation in all of its glory. And it's going to be big, man. It's going to be big for not just this year, but in years to come. So I'm really looking forward to that game.
Kelvin, any takeaways from homecoming? You were in the house, or not homecoming, but the band performances, halftime, fifth quarter. Any takeaways you want to share?
The standard is high with 100, and they've been getting a lot, like as Kofi mentioned, they've been getting a lot of clicks in terms of, T-Pain was very thankful. He acknowledged the show and explained that his father was in the band, how he used to come to the games and try to play the cadence and so forth. So anytime you get celebs, responding, I believe that Chloe responded to one of the things they did. So obviously they're doing some good things right now, and they just need to continue to be creative and do what they do, because people are paying attention.
Now, the one thing that I will say that the 100 has to 100% improve on is the engagement with the flow of the game. The engagement with the flow of the game. I want to see them, and I believe, because this has been mentioned, but I believe that they're going to do a better job looking forward to what happens when the team makes a first down or a big play or a good defensive stop, even down to getting the crowd engaged when the defense is on the field, simply with the drum beat, defense, boom, boom, defense, just getting out there and really staying engaged. So I'm looking forward to hearing the riffs and to hear the little creative things that they're going to do to get the crowd even more engaged with the flow of the game. Did Bryan go somewhere?
All right, am I back here, fellas? Sorry about that.
Yes, sir. You good?
All right. So look, I thought you guys were going to go ahead and take us to commercial. So why don't we do that? Get ready to go ahead and go to commercial. Get ready to come back for the top of the second hour. We'll check back and see if we got Coach McCullum joining us, and we've got some other big news to share. So you're watching the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Kelvin, and Kofi will be back right after these words. This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Hear the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the O&G Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the pregame.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Hear the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the O&G Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
All right, Rattler Nation, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan Fulford, Kelvin Rozier, Kofi Hemingway. It's a pleasure to have on the head basketball coach of our men's program, Coach Robert McCullum, the coach of the year from the MEAC back in the day when we were in the MEAC, a long time ago it seems like, right, Coach? Welcome to the O&G Strike Zone. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on and joining us. Well, the season has officially begun with practices give us a sense of how does it feel to actually have the season starting? You're actually able to get in the gym and have practices. Just share a little bit about your emotions.
Well, I guess that's a great way to pose that. It's always enjoyable. I would go so far as to say it's one of the most anticipated days of the year for me. And I tell our players and our staff, when I'm no longer extremely excited about the first day of practice, then I'm out.
Right.
And I mean that sincerely. So I still get excited about all of those reasons that I did, 39 years ago when I got in college coaching. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the first time players, for those freshmen. And so each of them give you a certain feeling or a certain emotion, all based on where they've come from, how they arrived on the hill, what they had to do to get there. Each story is different. And so now, as a coach, I'm really happy for them. So the 29th was our first day. So today we concluded our sixth practice. And for us, we returned all five starters. So it takes a lot to get me excited, to get me feeling really good, because quite frankly, the expectations are higher than they've been. And so now the challenge is finding the incoming guys, those 3 or 4 new guys that we know that we need to be able to count on to get us over the hump. So I know what I'm going to get from the starting 5. And you can't beat experience. And so they've proven they were the MEAC's best defensive team. We were 8th in the nation in defending the 3-point shot. So I know what I'm going to get from those guys. But again, that said, we're going to need help from 3 or 4 of our newcomers to be able to win the SWAC championship, and that's the goal.
This is Coach, your 5th season in Tallahassee as the head coach, and it seems like every year has started with different challenges and expectations, from your first year coming in to obviously the COVID year and the years in between. But is there a sense of moving into a new conference? What type of challenges does that bring forth for you and your staff moving into the new conference for this upcoming season?
Well, it brings a lot of challenges. Each year there are those challenges that each team presents that you didn't play the previous year. Because it's so much unknown. So the SWAC is going from 10 teams to 12 teams. So now, well, technically, you could say we have 11 teams that we know little to nothing about, because Bethune-Cookman has a new coach. One, they did not play last year. They set out last year. So that familiarization that we had with those players, we don't even know how many of those guys returned. Totally different coaching staff. So it's going to be a learning process. We've already obviously begun scouting. I've begun scouting. I scouted the SWAC conference tournament last year, and which is the most games that we have. And so I watched a couple of games during the regular season. I really saw Grambling and Southern. Didn't see Jackson State, but watched Prairie View and Texas Southern. And one, I want to get a sense for where we were this past season. How would last year's team, how would that team have fared had it been in the SWAC? And I'm comfortable in saying we were in the upper echelon. So, and let me be more specific about that. When I came to FAMU, I said, once we get the program going, FAMU should finish in the upper echelon every year, and I mean that. You know, we have the facility. You know, we have all those things that we need. And of course, you know, budget and those things. You know, there's still some improvement to be made in those areas, and I feel very good about the commitment that Courtney Dorsey has made. But yet, we have everything that we need to be one of the upper echelon teams in the league. And here's why that's important. Because if you're one of the upper echelon teams in the league, that means you're receiving a good seat in the first round. Now, let me mention that the SWAC doesn't send all 12 teams to the conference tournament, which I'm not a fan of. The majority of the coaches, and not all of them, are not a fan of that. We had our men head coaches meeting today. The commissioner let it be known, neither is he. That said, the committee right now, that's where they are. So the SWAC has 2 more years